Hello and welcome to another episode of Koller Commentary. I am so excited for this episode because before me, I have three incredible boss ladies who work their own jobs, care for their own families, tackle a lot, and I mean a lot of in-between responsibilities, and manage a small business. As female entrepreneurs, it is so important to empower one another, own the skills we carry, and share that story to inspire others as well. As some of you guys may have listened in my earlier episodes, you know that I am in my girlfriend era, and before me are just a few of these inspiring ladies that I have grown very close to in this past year. So we have Gloria Oh from Medor Jewelry, Sarah Chu from Sarah Chu Photography, and Jess Ansari from Kavod Bakery joining us today to share about who they are, the story behind their products, and how their business came to life. Welcome to the podcast, ladies.
Yay.
Hi,
thank you for having us. We're excited.
Yeah, I am so excited as well. And so we're actually all connected through our local church, which is called the Blessing Church here in Dallas. And so this is actually very interesting for my many listeners because it's the first time I'm having guests on the podcast who know me more as Joey than Eunjoy. So today is going to be a Joey episode for us on the pod. All right. Okay, let's get to it. I'm going to have you guys introduce yourselves one at a time. You can share just a brief intro, maybe a couple other identities, like a profession that is not your small business or other things like that. And then we'll go into your actual brand or product. I'm going to go ahead and go first with Gloria.
Oh, man. I was hoping I would be last, but hi, I'm Gloria. I'm a project manager by day and basically a mom 24/7 and co-founder of Medor Jewelry, and super excited to be here.
And I'm Sarah Chu of Sarah Chu Photography. And I guess by day, I'm a speech language pathologist for a brain injury unit. And then I actually just started. So I feel very lucky to be here with these ladies who've been doing this for a bit. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here in the mix.
And hello, I'm Jess Ansari. I do talent management at a mental health startup. During the day and during my free time, I bake cookies, and I founded my bakery since this past February.
This is so exciting. So I'm going to start with you, Jess. If you can just share more about your product and even the story behind how it became a business.
So it's a really funny story because I bake right now, but I actually never considered myself to be a baker until I first started dating my now husband. So my husband loves cookies. He loves baked goods. And back in 2020, when we officially started dating, that's when I first started to experiment with baking. And initially, I baked probably one of the flattest, saddest looking cookie. But then eventually I got better and better, and I shared my cookies with close family, friends, and they all really, really enjoyed it. And so I didn't really start this idea of having a bakery until early this year when my friend who lives in Dallas straight up told me that I need to sell my cookies. She loves my cookies.
Little, some encouragement.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so it was my friend who lives in Dallas who really inspired me to just start this and get this rolling. She believed in my product and she helped me to believe in it myself, So here I am selling cookies for my close friends, for my family, and just for my community.
I love that. Literally women empowering women to make it happen. And I heard flattest cookie, which is like a shock to hear because if you see Jess's cookies, they're like the most like bootylicious looking.
She's thick.
Yes, with the CCC, right? And so, I think that's a beautiful way to describe the beginning of your business. All right, we're going to go to Sarah next, and you can share a little bit more about your story.
Yeah, so it's actually officially been only a month since I've, just kind of like stamped all the legal documents and then got everything squared away as an official business, which is still kind of awkward for me to say. So even being on this podcast or agreeing to it, I think I was kind of telling myself, really go for it as a business. But I feel like photography has been something that's been in my life for like very consistently as a hobby. I feel like throughout the years, I've been really into like, there was a whole calligraphy era. There was like a paper flower era, doing like wedding invitations for friends era. There were many eras of just exercising my creativity, but I feel like photography has been something that's very consistent. So throughout the years, whether it's for friends' small businesses or like a mommy and me shoot for one of my friends who had her baby kind of like early on, right after college. So I think now just being in Dallas and moving down to part-time from my current day job, it was something that was always in the back of my mind to start. And I don't think I've felt like I didn't have like an epiphany moment to make it like a business or anything, but I feel like it was just natural to kind of, should I get back into it? And then now I'm old enough where I feel like I should make it a business. So kind of naturally came about, I think.
Yeah, and it's only been a month, but you see all of her shoots just popping everywhere on social media right now. So I think that's a testament to the skill you're already bringing to so many of your clients. All right, let's go to Gloria.
All right. So how I started my business? Well, it was not easy because I had to convince my husband and I had to build a sales deck and literally had to convince him. Initially, it was like me and my sister. We really were excited to start something together, but we didn't know exactly what. And once we found like a product that we felt like we would be able to have mentors in because her husband is in the industry. Yeah, once we found the product, we just really had to figure out the why and give my husband the cost
analysis
in order for him to give us the green light. And you know, I think that was really important when we started because it wasn't just fun, silly ideas, but we really had to ask ourselves like, oh, why is this important for us to start? And I think for us, it was really about, I think we got encouraged by our parents coming to America and, you know, having to start something of their own and wanting to do something ourselves and also teach our kids like, hey, if you have an idea, you can run with it, but make sure you do, you know, build a sales deck so you can have the reasoning and basically, you know, the knowledge in order to run with it. And it's okay even if you fail, as long as, you know, you keep trying and and you learn from it and go. So that's really how we started.
I love that you put that in there, just like I think the generation above us really modeled small businesses, especially coming here and kind of doing that grind. And so even as I hear your stories, there's so much passion behind it. And I wonder if they got to have that passion when they were doing their small businesses. But regardless of that, it's just like in the bloodline to continue forward and whatever that looks like in our generation today. And then what you're also hoping to instill in your next generation, you know? So it's really cool how that will continue. I'm curious because I heard you talk about a sales deck and you all have spouses. What did it look like? Because, right, you're not just let's just like daydream, right? We got bills to pay now, adulting. Yes, I am curious. What does it look like with your partner in terms of even pitching this business idea? Because all of your partners are different Enneagrams, which I think is fun, just thinking through. Yeah. Gloria, you did share about Sam. If Sam doesn't mind me sharing, he is an Enneagram 8, the challenger, and it kind of like challenging you, but right, with really good intention, but he's not going to just say like, go for it. He's like, go for it, show me X, Y, Z. Yeah. And so how has that been though, just like in this past year in terms of like that support and what that looks like or feels like, or even if there was an obstacle in that?
He was very supportive once we had everything, like all the information in terms of like we had to write our marketing strategy. We had to write like the cost of each product. I was pregnant at this time. So it could have been like a crazy pregnant idea that just kind of flourished. But he saw that I was really passionate and wanting to move forward with this. And so he was supportive when we wanted to actually go to Vegas because each year they have like a jewelry expo where you can meet these wholesalers. And and it was interesting that he let me go and was supportive by driving me there. Oh. And once we got there, he watched my daughter, Michaela, at the time when she was 2, I feel like through that, I felt like a lot of his support, because it's very hard convincing that guy. I'll be very honest. But once he's on board and he sees like the work that I put into it, he knows I'm serious. And so I think even just that small step of taking me to Vegas and watching our daughter during that time was like a key moment for him to help me.
Yeah. No,
I always say he's going to be the person who puts a stamp on the postage or like the product. He's went from that to our investor. So I don't
Did he know what he was reading when you presented the whole presentation? Like he knew all the analysis. I guess he's in finance.
Actually, he did more research than I did in that part. And
wow.
so I think when he was able to validate my work, I was like, oh, you've done the research too. And
that's
so
really cool.
I think even him taking a lot of time and researching about gold showed me, okay, he might say yes. But yeah, in that way too, like even before I started, him doing the research was another like green light for me and for him to be supportive.
Yeah. Jess, what about you? I mean, this business started because of your husband.
All I'll say is we had a lot of late night pillow talks, and my husband, he is an Enneagram 9. So
the peacemaker.
Yeah. So he is really good at listening and handling all my crazy ideas and all the late night talks. He's there just listening. And I remember I would just talk to him about some of the things I'm like ideating or thinking about. And he was a really awesome thought partner throughout the whole journey. I had a lot of doubts, but I really feel like he was there to at least help me process and articulate the why behind this whole bakery idea. He really was a nice soundboard for me, and he was able to really be there to not only support me, but he was there to help me flesh out what this could be and what this can look like and the impact that I can have and all that. So he was great. I know he did not enjoy me snuggling up next to him at night and just, pouring out all my ideas, but he definitely helped me get to where I am right now. So thanks, babe.
Thank you, Sam.
I saw you. All right, Sarah.
Yeah. So I am married to an Enneagram 6, and in most ways. Well, before I get to that, I feel like one thing that's unique about our relationship is we've known each other for so long that he's kind of been with me throughout all my like ventures and ideas and all these eras.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Even when we're dating, when I was in my calligraphy era, he bought me my first iPad with like the Apple Pencil and stuff. And I was doing like, I think it was podcast or something about recording. He bought me like the blue microphone that I was just talking about. So Chris has always been very supportive. I think emotionally, just like practically speaking. But when I first started talking about photography, again, it wasn't out of, just like months of research or anything. It kind of came about very naturally after going to part-time. And I don't know, it was just very natural for me to get back to. So I feel like he didn't really have a warning. No, not enough pillow talks maybe.
Enneagram 6 needs a warning for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like our pillow talks started after the LLC became a thing. Which I think this venture was the first to be like that.
Right.
So to kind of see his consistent attitude and support throughout the past month and having him ask more questions about like what makes a photograph look good or why do you want to do family photography? So I think for me too, asking me the why, and I don't know if he's doing a deep dive. He probably is. Maybe he's not showing it, but I feel like there are moments when I sense like he's kind of in the background making sure he's covering all the bases, because that's kind of how he supported me in the past. So with all like the legal things, just making sure I have things ready to go.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome. I think whether it's a spouse or a friend or whoever, like to be able to have a processing partner, even if that looks different for each of you, as you guys just shared, I think that's really helpful as you continue. So Jess, I'm going to start with you on this question. I heard you say the word, like talking about doubts maybe with Sal about business, right? And the next question is just really asking all of you guys, what would have been the biggest obstacle that would hold you back from starting this business? And then what has ended up being the greatest blessing about starting your business?
So I think one of the biggest things I struggle with is self-doubt and feelings of worthlessness, right? And so I think a lot of the things I decide to do that requires taking risk, the first emotional, visceral reaction I feel is fear. It is self-doubt. It is fear of man in particular, right? And so I think that was definitely the biggest obstacle because of my people-pleasing tendency. And so at the end of the day, yes, I love my cookies. I think they're delicious. But of course, that's not everyone's taste, right? Like some people might prefer thin, crispy cookies. Some people might not even like cookies, right? And so there is that element of not feeling like I can reach everyone, you know, like I will disappoint someone. I will not win someone over. And I think I really had to swallow that and understand that as long as I believe in the product, that's okay. And if others don't like my product, like that's not a reflection of who I am as a person. It doesn't reflect even my worthiness or any of that, you know. But sometimes I can feel that way with a lot of things that I care about or some risk-taking ventures that I do. But I think this process really helped me to understand that this is one of the bigger struggles that I've had internally just starting this entire business.
Thanks for getting vulnerable with us. I'm excited to share your Enneagram at the next question because I heard a lot of buzzwords, you know, that aligned. I think what I'm going to do is ask all of you guys the biggest obstacle and then you can end with the positive. So I'm going to go to you, Sarah, for what you felt like was your biggest obstacle starting.
I'm still kind of in this position of what makes my hobby a business, like what makes my services worth paying for. So I think based on my Enneagram, I also struggle with a lot of like self-doubt and people-pleasing tendencies, but also it kind of wars against my perfectionism, I guess, having standards for myself and not even wanting to start if I know I'm not going to be able to achieve that. And it doesn't have to be even related to, like, you know, if you have a business, you would think like, oh, what makes a successful business? Some might think profitable, some might think reaching a specific target audience or delivering a product that impacts lives or something. But I think, I guess we'll get to it later, but my core and my
Someone
wing,
did her homework.
I think that's my obstacle, like those being at war against each other.
Right. Thank you. Gloria.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest obstacle, and it's still something that
If it's
we're
Sam, you can
working
just say
through.
Sam.
No. Actually, he was the one who was warning me about starting it because at the time I was pregnant. And
With your second.
yeah. And I think at that time, I just felt very invincible because I don't know what it is. After you become a mom, you just have this like super energy. You think you can kind of do it all because you don't get much sleep. You have to figure out a new system and you think you can add one more thing. But in reality, you should be sleeping. I don't know. It just, I had that energy and I think I thought I could put it into this new thing. And dude, I was so wrong. Oh my gosh. And so I think if I were to, you know, go back, I think I would have waited a little bit, especially because also I thought at that time I would have a partner who would not get pregnant, but she ended up getting pregnant too. And so, you know, like our life stage right now, it's very hard to like even try to build a family like foundation and making sure you're good with your own house. But then in addition, trying to build a business is very challenging. But at that time, I was also like, but when is the perfect time?
Right.
especially because I do work around a lot of entrepreneurs at work. And the biggest thing that I learned from them is like, if you have an idea, you just run with it. You're always going to get imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You're always going to make excuses. So if you have the right mindset, that's the right time to start. And so with that, hearing that every day, I was always at a battle with myself and always at a battle with my husband, because I would hear him, but at the same time, like, but these people are telling me something else. And so, yeah, like, I think it would have probably been a better time when me and my sister don't have newborns and like, yeah, really young kids. But at the same time, I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that is a huge obstacle.
I'm sure it is. I'm glad your super mom brain, pregnant brain came into made you delusional.
Yeah.
At that time.
I hope Sam doesn't listen to this because he'll be like, I told you so. And I'll be like,
I can see his eyes getting bigger. Okay, well, yeah, I think that's just real to share what might have held you back. But as you guys have started this business so far, right, there's so many more blessings to come. But so far, what has been that greatest blessing about starting your business? I'm going to go back to Jess.
Yeah, I think for me, the greatest joy that I get is whenever someone takes a bite of my cookie, assuming that they enjoy it, right? And so, like,
so good. It's so good.
I'm not sure if y'all can relate to this, but I think an immediate image comes to mind of my mom cooking a meal for me and my 3 siblings. And sometimes she like sits down, doesn't even eat, and she just watches us eat. And I'm like, Mama, like, eat, you know? And she's like, oh, no, like, don't worry about it. And she's like sitting there watching us and she's smiling because we're enjoying her food. And I think that's kind of how I feel whenever I cook for my husband, or especially when I'm baking and when I see people enjoying my cookies. There's like this deep sense of joy that I feel of them appreciating something that I deeply care for, right? Something that I put in so much time, you know, as I develop the recipes and all of that. And so I think that, like, seeing people happy and seeing them just filled with joy and enjoying my cookies, like, that has been by far the greatest blessing.
Are you an F in your Myers-Briggs?
I am.
I got this whole emotional feel just listening to you describe that.
Yeah, I'm a huge feeler.
Me too. We'll talk about our similarities later. Okay, Sarah, what has been your blessing so far?
I think essentially photography, you're encapsulating these moments, whether it's love or just like happiness. It's frozen in still pictures. So I think just even outside of photography, I love love. I love beauty. I love smiles, and being able to facilitate those moments and then capture it so that these families have something to look at for generations to come. I think that's something that's very meaningful to me. And then I think just throughout my career as a speech pathologist, I've had the privilege of walking alongside families of young children or people who are kind of at the end of their lifetime. So I think my experience, time spent with those families, also have a pretty big impact on why I decided on the family photography route, because I know that not all moments last forever, obviously. Right. Even just like the social aspect of photography, like being at a session and throwing out a prompt that really engages the family to be in a specific moment. I think there are so many aspects of this business that I'm starting to find out that I love. But most of all, I think being able to look at beauty or love or happiness or whatever, I think. Am I a feeler?
I think we're... Are you?
I actually
you are
am.
in your Myers-Briggs, right?
I am, yeah. But it's so interesting because my answers, I don't really add my...
It's your Enneagram.
Maybe. It could be. It could be. It's so interesting.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Yeah. We got to dig a little deeper over there.
I know.
Let's tap into that right now. What is your greatest? Thank you for sharing, Sarah. And I have so much to encourage you guys all at the end of this episode, but would love to hear your greatest blessing so far.
Oh man. You know, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I have been really blessed with my 9-to-5 job, and I've been working in marketing for the past 4-ish years. And so being able to use my learnings from my current 9-to-5 into this business has been super awesome to see like, oh, what works here and what doesn't. And so like the experiments within this business has been a cool experience. Obviously, like I can't spend as much time, and I wish I could, because then I think the learnings would be faster when trying to grow a business. And also, I think the growth of the business would probably be a lot faster. But with my life stage and like, you know, having a 9-to-5 job and little kids, it's just not possible. But being okay with it too. I don't know. Being able to still have this on the side is still a huge blessing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our support systems, aka our hubs.
Okay, so then we're gonna go into introducing your Enneagrams. Ooh la la, there's not much of a variation here in this room. Just a little teaser over there. There's only 2 types in this room right now. There is a type 2 and a type 3. And I'm going to read the type 2 struggles and strengths and the type 3 struggles and strengths. And obviously don't have to resonate with all of them. But as I read it, if there's one that sticks out, maybe particularly as you've run this business, and you guys have already kind of shared in that lens, that's kind of what I want you to resonate on for this next question. Before I read the strengths, type 2s, they are our giver, our helper, or a befriender. They really prioritize relationships and making sure others feel well cared and loved for. But there is a depth of like need and suffering in this world where you cannot be that for everyone, right? And even though they have this job to alleviate, that becomes a constant responsibility. And then that's something you cannot actually achieve. And so while they are selfless, loving, and giving, sometimes it can show like there's a dependency and almost a pridefulness that can lead to hostility in the most stressful of times. If you guys know me as a type 2, I have talked about the weaknesses a lot in my life. A type 3, which is the other type in this room, are often seen as optimistic, accomplished, and adaptable people who achieve. Unfortunately, our world is very fast driven, you know, like a lot of comparison that happens in this society. And especially today, the opportunities are endless. So while that's an amazing thing to think about, that also brings this struggle of like, will I ever be the successful person I'm hoping for? Or there's always somewhere to strive more, which leads to a more constant pressure of like how to measure that success. Those are things about those two. Those two are both in the heart triad, like we've talked about, very feeling centered, even though type 3s can repress that. And like I shared before, a lot of my biased Asian American data that I did take showed that while 2s and 3s are not the most common in society, of where I took my poll of data, it was on the top. I think that's interesting just based on like our culture as well. So the type 2 struggles and strengths. A type 2 feels like they should never deny others when someone asks for their help or support. They tend to have low self-esteem. They get quickly drained because they prioritize others over their own. And they can feel a sense of guilt or put themselves down when they attend to their own needs. They can feel neglected and resentful when they aren't prioritized for their needs the same way they might do for others. So these are some of those struggles. Strengths, they really enjoy others and relate well to them. They intuitively know what others need and enjoy meeting those needs. They bring such a generous, warm, and caring presence, and they truly are loving people. They are sensitive and empathetic to the feelings and needs of others and are optimistic, joyful, and enjoy knowing that others are grateful for their help. And you can relate to these even if that might not be your main type. But a 3 struggle is that it is challenging for them to put up with inefficiencies and incompetencies. They constantly fear that they might not be seen as successful. They could be comparing themselves to others or telling themselves that they need to be doing a better job if others are doing a better job than them. And they feel that they need to put a facade on to impress. Some of their strengths are that they're optimistic, friendly, and upbeat. They definitely lure others to them. They're attractive in that way. They're hardworking and good providers with the ability to recover quickly from setbacks and charge ahead. They are competent, they work efficiently, and they accomplish a lot. If you know me, I'm a 2-wing 3 and I resonate with so many of these, but we're going to go ahead and bring it back to our audience. Within the Enneagram type that I just read, I want you to focus on what of these strengths might you bring to your company, and also what are these struggles that you hope to grow or develop in this time. you don't have to resonate with all of these. These are also a way to reflect when you might be in an unhealthy stage. So this doesn't mean this is in you right now, right? But it's a good thing to be aware of. So yeah, I want to go ahead and start with Gloria.
So as a 3-wing 2, it's so interesting because Sarah and I are the same. Oh wait, should I? I don't know if I was supposed to say that, but I feel like it's so interesting that God has still made us different but same. You know, because I feel like Sarah is also very driven, and that's one of the words that I resonated with the list of things that you mentioned. And it can be a strength, but also a place of growth for me is like, I feel like I'm a superwoman, which is not possible if you want. I think a part of me believes that we all have one particular gift that God has given us, and to continuously refine in that area. Like, I think you do need to have focus, but I just really like to spread myself thin a lot of times, which my husband is very great at making me aware of it, because a lot of times I am not. And
I know, it's like you're preaching to the choir.
and so, yeah, it's a struggle that I am trying to constantly like take a step back and actually reflect. But I think lately I've been trying really hard to be more mindful and spending some time in the morning when my son is asleep to really reflect on my past week or even the day before, to help me like plan through the day and like what is my main goal and how can I do that one thing really well. And so did I answer your question?
You sure did.
Okay.
What was I going to ask about Sam? Does Sam spread himself thin? Because I feel like he does from the outside lens, but then it sounds like he makes sure you don't. So I'm just curious, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think though he knows his limit, and so he'll be like, babe, I just need to stay home like this weekend, and I don't really want to see anybody. And I'm just like, that's interesting for you to say that. But I think I'm learning that. Like, I think it's a skill set to know like when you need a break. So I'm learning that from him, that, you know, it's okay to say like, I need to just veg out in the couch and not see 20, 30 people this week, you know?
Right.
So,
20, 30.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay, let's go on to the next 3-wing 2 over here.
Yeah, of course I do resonate with everything Gloria said. I think driven, it could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
But for me, like I said in the beginning, I feel like I resonate so much with both my core and my wing.
Right.
And up until college, I thought I was a 2-wing 3. It wasn't until recently that I kept testing again and again to confirm that I was a 3-wing 2, and really understood myself better when that was clearer. So I think just kind of resonating with both, but having my core as a 3, where that is a strength and a crutch, I guess, is what you were mentioning. I think a lot of times my boundaries are very blurred, and it could be on the basis of for the sake of efficiency, but also for people, giving myself to people. It's only been a month since I've been doing this, but like
You've
this
been
past
doing
week,
a lot. Yeah.
so this week I learned that I could sit in front of a computer for like 12 hours, and I ended up getting a stiff neck and shoulder, and I couldn't move. And Chris was like, hello, this is exactly why you need to draw boundaries for yourself, especially with a job where it's a one-man kind of band right now. So holding myself accountable and drawing boundaries for myself is something that I'm always learning. So like you said, I think having one thing and working towards it is something that I'm working on with this, because already my mind, like the 3 side of me, I guess, is like thinking like marketing, like just different aspects of business, and like having all these like 10 steps to get there.
Right.
So I think just kind of slowing down and drawing those boundaries is something that I'm learning to do, and that's an area for growth.
I love hearing this because, I mean, it's not like your business was alive much longer, but you have been able to have time to reflect on that. And then now that you just started as a similar Enneagram type, it's like, while you guys are very different and in different industries, that lesson is still something that is like you're learning, because that is at the core, you know, of like how you push yourself. And then when you push yourself, like what are those things that you have to confront and create those boundaries? That's really cool to hear y'all say that back to back. Thanks for sharing. Jess, what about you?
Yeah, so I am an Enneagram 2, wing 3. So
oh my gosh, the best type ever!
So Joey and I have the same Enneagram. If you have not already got that. For me, I think the core of it, of who I am, is just building relationships, right? So when I thought about the bakery and even the word kavod, I know a lot of people have like butchered the name. It's a kavad. Like, how do you pronounce this thing? But no, it is pronounced kavod. And just to kind of backtrack a little bit and share a little bit of the context, kavod, the word is a Hebrew word, and the literal meaning of it means heavy or weighty. When I was ideating some like names for my bakery, I think this really ties into my Enneagram 2, because there was so much deep empathy I had for people. And I actually first learned about this word in a book called Garden City by John Mark Comer. Some of you may have read this book or heard of it. I know Joey was like, oh my gosh, yeah. But that's actually how and where I learned about this word. And he talks about the word kavod and how it's really tied to my faith and the way that I ought to live, you know, and how I should ultimately be glorifying God in the seemingly mundane aspects of life. And so my goal, my objective is to have this baked good, in a way, bring this sense of joy and bring this sense of glory, if you will, as people talk to each other, as they fellowship. I wanted that to be just the heart behind my whole bakery and its name. I wanted people to enjoy it together or by themselves. I don't know. And so I think that deep empathy helped me to ideate and helped me to create this name. But what really helped me to deliver and execute was my wing 3, I have to say. Because I think there is grit. There is this ambition that I carry. And I think for a lot of the beginning stages, I just remember spending so many late nights. I know Sarah just shared about like working 12 hours straight. Like that was me too. Like I would work ruthlessly, just creating my website and sketching out different like logos and designs and just figuring out an overall like marketing strategy. Like I just did everything. I cranked everything out in like a few days, you know? And so I think there's like this grit and this maniac side that like comes out when you're super passionate, you know? And I think of course there are cons, but I think in this case, it really served me well because it really helped me to deliver and finally make this thing happen. So
you say maniac, but I feel like all around you, we think normal. I know, but that's so true, you know? Like, and I think it's so cool because people are literally fellowshipping over your cookies at church. You know, like, did you think that would have been... So for context, after service on Sundays, we have different goods and they weekly buy your cookies, and that's part of the fellowship part there. And I think that's so cool how like, even as you were sharing that, I was like, that's literally happening and people are not able to try it because it's already gone, you know? And if you want to try it for free before you take the plunge, come out to our church.
I know, come to TVC, shameless plug.
But that's really cool to hear, and how we all identify with the 2 and the 3.
Yes, so funny.
I'm curious, this is like a side question, but in general, like as women, right, the 2 is a very innate thing for a lot of us. Being female entrepreneurs, well, I don't know, like what do you feel like that has looked like in the identity as a woman, if you've had to think about that? Is it the imposter syndrome that could come up first? Like for me, there could be a sense of that goes on the bottom of my priority list, because before that I have to take care of stuff at the home, my kids, or like other things that I have to do, and that doing is so important. And while yes, there's a lens of like making sure I don't prioritize something that doesn't have to be at the top, I can find myself putting it almost at the bottom, because it's like, oh, this is only something I'm passionate about. No one else shares the passion. So almost like it's not as important sometimes, I think, even though I'm so passionate about it. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, I can totally chime into that and like agree with you, right? I think practically speaking, like, yes, this bakery, you know, it's not my full-time job. It's not something that pays my mortgage, you know, it does not do that. But instead it is a passion project. And I think inevitably, because this isn't my full-time work, I do sometimes push it aside, right? And so even though it is empowering to be a woman and being entrepreneurial, I think there is this practical element that almost trumps this creative side to me, right? Where I need to value and prioritize working full-time first. I have to prioritize taking care of my husband. I have to prioritize my church ministry duties, you know? And so the list just goes on. And I think in that sense, it's really hard for me to almost feel even more empowered to prioritize my baking business, to be honest. I do sometimes put it at the back burner because of other pressing needs that honestly are just so much more practical and require immediate care and concern.
For me, just to be completely honest, I feel like one of the reasons why this just seemed like a really good idea was because it was kind of in an effort to kind of prepare before starting a family. So this past year, just at my day job, I learned that it's not very flexible, and I have my own limitations and just kind of like my own capacity of things. And Chris and I had many conversations about what that might look like if we did have a family. So I think that's why this opportunity to work part-time and then have something else that might seem like a passion project, but also something that could allow an opportunity for me to be flexible, but still be present as a future mom or as a wife. That was kind of what fuel the flame a little bit. Yeah.
That's really forward thinking because I mean, because I also resonate with Gloria and like making a business when you're pregnant. Like, is this really the right time, right? But like, you can't rewind time, unfortunately. But like, I love that you are putting those systems in place because you're also thinking of what's to come. And so that's really awesome to hear.
Yeah, going back to like how like me and my sister started, we saw how our parents put a lot of effort into their jobs because they were just trying to survive at that time and place. I think with this business, although we can't put our full time into it, I do think our 9 to 5, we are showing them like, you know, before even work, we want to prioritize, you know, spending time with our families. So making sure after work, we are having dinner with them at the table, sharing, you know, important conversations. And each dinner looks different, but still like having those principles rooted in our family. And then later, like they probably don't know that we have this jewelry business, but I want them to know like even before this side gig that we are still putting them before that. And with family, we are also putting, you know, spending time with our community and other important things first, because, you know, like a side hustle is literally a side hustle for us. And we want to make sure we show that to them because we want them to also one day when they are old enough to also take their families and their communities and even their relationship with God first before any side hustle or passion projects.
I love that reframe of just even like what could seem like a holding it back, but rather like reshifting how to just show what values are most important. Wow, taking notes over here. Okay, well, let's then ask, what is some advice or practical tips you might have for someone starting their own business?
I think for me, like an immediate thing that comes to mind is find a thought partner, you know, like I know it's so easy for some of us who are very creative to just have a bunch of ideas and maybe you just absorb it and there's no outlet to release, right? But I think in the primitive stages of starting anything new, like a new venture or new business, I think it's really important to verbalize that and to share it with someone who can be that soundboard to help you even better understand what it is that you want to do, which direction you want to take. And I think in all of our cases, I think our husbands, you know, really served as that person. But it doesn't have to be your partner. It can literally be like your mom, your friend, your neighbor, like I'm not sure where, but or who, but you can find that person, you know, and that is like the most practical advice I can give you, because I think that's really going to help you like just understand what it is that you're trying to achieve or accomplish, you know, and that person who loves you will be honest, and they will either redirect you or even affirm that idea or that decision.
I can really echo that. In the past few weeks, I was blessed with 2 other sisters who were starting out their own venture and establishing an LLC and a website. So there was a little support group text going on. We were just affirming each other, or I guess sending each other our soft launches of the website, letting each other know, you know, like what formatting needs to be fixed and just practical things like that. But also I think it's very important for me to keep reassessing myself to the why. And I think because my faith is important for me, I really needed to be surrounded by people who kept asking me my why, because it's so easy to veer off even like a degree and then just keep going that direction and just get it completely, I guess, different from what you were thinking at the beginning. I guess that kind of goes into my, I guess, second tip or advice. It's more for myself, but as an Enneagram 3, it's very easy for me to think about the outcome, like the what I want as like success, or what I hope for, or what I want to achieve. But something that really grounds me is to redefine my why. And again, for me, I think my why has to be rooted in my faith. So finding that why for yourself, I think is going to be really important.
I think it's similar to what they already shared. Mine would be first to find a mentor. Whatever industry you're thinking about, like have a mentor who can really be your soundboard. And then second would be just not to be afraid of failure, because I think a lot of times people don't start because they think, what if that and what if this? But yeah, just take courage and do your research, share your idea, get feedback, and then try it. And if it fails, move on, go forward with, you know, another venture or something else. Hope you're not blowing your bank or anything, but like, you know, at least you're trying and you're learning from your failures. I think that gives you way more life lessons than you being stuck in the same place, just being comfortable. So, yeah.
So kind of hearing on that, like, let's say this does fail, or maybe it doesn't for you guys, or maybe it's temporary. What are some other dreams? Are there some other dreams you hope to input into what you are creating right now? Like, what can we kind of imagery in 5 years? I don't know. Yeah.
I think for me, it's really hard to picture something 10 years down the line, right? But I think something more immediate that is actually in the works right now for me is partnering with local coffee shops or businesses. You know, I think ultimately I just want to connect with my community, and I don't really envision myself having like this huge bakery, to be honest, at least for the first couple of years. I think for me, I just want to really get to know my community and partner with these coffee shops, and from there start these organic relationships where I can support them in their birthday parties or in their bridal showers or whatever special event that they may have. And also, just partnering with small companies if they have like a vendor event, you know, like going out to those places. And so just taking it day by day, week by week, and just starting small. And if I do decide to scale up, if it ever does happen, then hopefully I'll have a bigger team to make that into a reality.
Yeah. Hire her for your next event, Kavod Bakery.
So I think it's becoming clearer for me every time I do go out on a shoot, especially with families, that at the heart of it, what I am passionate about is relationships, which is kind of tapping into my wing, I guess. But I think just on a more personal level, when I think about the reason why my husband and I uprooted out of Los Angeles and came to Dallas is for the church plant, essentially, but just to meet people and walk with people. And I feel like it's so interesting because I would have never imagined myself to be here a year ago when we first got to Dallas. But also every time I attend a shoot, it makes so much sense just because of the relational opportunities there are. And right now I've been kind of shooting more for friends or friends of friends or coworkers. But I think my dream or my hope is to just get to know people in Dallas. And with family photography, once you do maternity, hopefully they come back for newborn and milestone shoots. And it would be a dream for me to really develop just meaningful relationships, I guess, or even if I just walk with them for that season in their life and we got to share that moment together, I think that's enough. But I think that's what I'm passionate about, and kind of along the same lines as Jess, when I think long term, something that I really enjoyed doing back in LA, I had this really random part-time gig with this 언니 who did like a rice cake business for Toll and just like weddings and events. Rice Blossoms, shout out. And something that I guess admired was how the Korean American community came together with things that were very representative of our culture. And I know photography it's not necessarily like a cultural thing, but I would love an opportunity to maybe facilitate that kind of a gathering of like makers or creatives, or even maybe it will be our first collaboration. Kavod X Sarah Chu. I don't know.
X photography.
But I guess creating a space for people to connect, I think that's my underlying passion and dream and hopes.
Love it. Love it. See you guys in 5 years at the collab X by X.
Yeah, I feel like they do something like that in LA where they, highlight Korean American makers. And so that would be cool to see.
Yeah,
in Dallas.
that really would be.
Our 5-year goal.
I'm sure Sam made you write that down.
Yeah, he definitely did. I don't remember at the top of my head, but the phrase that always comes to mind is like generation to generation. And I think for us starting this business, it started with family, and who knows if this jewelry store will continue on. But regardless of the product, I would want our business ethics or like our business principles to be shared with our kids. This would be awesome to do as a full-time gig. I don't know if that's in God's plan, but if it is, I would love to do it with my sister and continue to grow it. But 5-year mark, as Sam says, is like when like if the business is going to basically close its doors or not. Until then, like I want to be able to moving forward, like, and especially being inspired by everyone here, I want to be able to do more and be able to put a little bit more effort here and to continue, building and creating more business principles to share with my kids. So one day that if they want to create their own businesses, we could share with them too. So that's good.
Wow, I feel so inspired by you guys today. So I forgot to ask you guys this question, but I usually ask my guests to describe a fruit that represents X. So like this small business, what would that look like in a fruit for you? That's a weird question, but I like to ask my guests whether it's describe yourself in a fruit, but our topic is small business. So what would that look like in a fruit?
I mean, this is so silly, but I'm just going to say it anyways. I just think of grapes. The lovely thing about a grape is like when you buy them, it's not just one piece of grape. There's like 50 of them, all attached to this like branch or like the little thing. And I just envision the bakery like flourishing, growing, spreading, and just it's really not embarrassing, but it's really unreal for me to vocalize that out loud. But yeah, like at the very, very core of what I'm doing, like my goal is for this to flourish, and it is for it to grow and perhaps reach different regions, and for me to have like a storefront one day or whatever. I don't know, but I think that's like the imagery that came to mind.
Yeah. I love that. I'm gonna be like eating my crunchy grapes, and it's gonna feel like Kavod cookies.
Yeah, I love that though. I don't know, but I don't know why it's so weird. Is coconut even a fruit?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like our business could be described as a coconut. To be frank, I do not like coconut. But it just came to mind because, the outside is so hard, and I feel like we're still chiseling to get to the middle of the juicy and like thirst quenching part of this journey. And so, I feel like we're a coconut where, we're not at the juiciest place yet, but we're working hard to get to the middle. Yeah.
That's so good.
Dang, you guys are so deep.
I know. It's like, I don't know why this came to mind, but bam. All right, Sarah, bam.
No, it's fine. Well, I was thinking of two because I think to me personally, what my business has been is like an orange with a lot of, like, you know, the white stuff. Do you call it pulp? I don't know. Like the bad kind where you're just chewing on it for a really, really long time. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm just kind of chewing and like just trying to really get the flavor out, I guess, because it's still very new to
Right.
me. But I think what I want it to become is like a mango.
Yeah.
With a really big seed in the middle, that kind. I feel like if you guys have seen one with a really big seed, it's like bigger than like the actual fruit you get. And I kind of see like the values and like my why, I guess. I do really want that part to remain as like the core. So I guess...
Wow. What the heck? Oh my gosh. These are I literally asked you guys this right now. It's not even like you had time to prepare. Wow.
It's
Maybe.
probably the most insightful question.
Right. I know. Like, I'm like, oh my
I learned
gosh.
so much.
Because you guys you just all created meaning out of nothing.
Oh my gosh, so beautiful.
Where can we find each of you guys and your business?
Yeah. For Kavod Bakery, you can find me on Instagram. It's Kavod_bakery. And you can also find me on my website at kavodbakery.com.
And same with me. I have an Instagram account, Sarah Chu Photography, and a website, sarahchuphotography.com.
Same here. Easy. MedorJewelry.com or Medor Jewelry for all social.
Where did Medor come from?
So it's my first baby and my sister's first baby's name put together. My daughter's name is Michaela. And then
Her name is Michaela.
and then my sister or my nephew, his name is Theodore. So Medor.
So cute.
Well, I think just listening, there's like different things. I feel like, Jess, you have this power to bring emotion from a cookie. And I think that's like, it sounds like, I don't know. I feel like that's so difficult. Like everything that you touch, I feel like then exudes this joy or this like greater warmth. And so even like hearing the fact that this is already happening in the fellowship and then the dreams you have to come, I think that like it will come to fruition. So that's really cool to hear at this like starting point. I'm encouraging right now. And like Sarah, I feel like, you know, a lot of sisters in general have shared your name when they come to this church. Like they say Sarah. And I'm like, oh, like, have you talked to her? And like, no. And so I'm like, oh, but you just like say her name. And I think it's so cool that like that love that you somehow share, like you're going to capture that in like these clients that you have. And like even hearing about the milestones you get to go with them. Like it brings me back to even like a photographer in Houston I got to do those milestones with because she's a 3 too. But maybe like, you know, declaring it for you because I think that's definitely something that I see for you and even like the unique way you capture, even if it's just right now in starting, like it's very unique. So yeah, and from Medor to your parents is very generational. And as a mother, I think you're like really redefining what it looks like to dream because like I think the dream for me can still be rooted in like selfishness or like me time. But even like hearing you, Gloria, just like talk about what it looks like to instill the values of like what is this generationally has really like got me thinking again of even within my humble business as well. Like, what does that look like? And where am I feeling like this lack of time? And is that almost not aligned with those values? And so I'm really grateful that I get to chew on that here. And if you're listening to this, Small Business Saturday is coming up this Saturday. And as a way to support Koller Commentary is hosting for this humble podcast a huge giveaway. You can enter and you'll see more instructions if you follow at Koller Commentary on Instagram, but you can enter and 3 winners will be chosen, but you can either win a photo session with Sarah Chu Photography, a pair of jewelry on MedorJewelry.com site, or a set of baked goods from Kavod Bakery, sponsored by Koller Commentary. But if you don't win, then you can just check it out on your own and support small businesses this Saturday instead of Black Friday the night before. And all of these, if it's not for yourself, but if you win this, it's also a great gift for the holidays, you do have to claim by December because I'm not going to be waiting on you forever. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming here, sharing your wisdom and insight, and just laughing together. It's super important for women to empower each other and just listen and inspire each other. And that's what I'm taking away from today.
Thanks for having us.
This was so much fun.
Yes. Your first podcast?
Ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so go follow and support. And thanks, guys, for listening to another episode of Koller Commentary. Bye.